Welcome back to another podcast of Picks and Sticks, a podcast where real musicians talk to real people. I'm AJ Apollo, guitarist for Abiding Conviction.
I'm Teddy Miller, drummer for Abiding Conviction.
And today we have a special guest, larger than life, the voice of rock and roll, Mr. Tone Martin, lead singer of Abiding Conviction. Tone, what's up, man?
Thank you, guys. AJ, Teddy.
Glad to have you on, my friend.
Glad to be here.
All right, AJ. So how about we lead into some of this podcast by telling us about some of our things we got going.
Okay, Teddy, so we've got our singles have been released. They're available on multiple platforms. You can get them on iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, whatever.
Also check out YouTube as well.
Great singles, by the way.
Yes.
Very much so, yes, I agree.
Sir. And then the album, I've spoke to the distributor today, and it looks like that should be available, I'm going to say Monday or Tuesday, coming up real soon. So watch for that any day now. That will be available on Amazon.com, or you can also purchase it on iTunes. And they will have an option for a physical copy where you can actually get a CD. If you're still listening to CDs out there, you can get those also. But those are a little bit delayed. It's about 6 to 8 weeks usually before those get pressed and are available. The other thing we've got going on, we did finally launch our Abiding Conviction official shop where you can pick up merchandise. We've got hats, we've got T-shirts, water bottles. There's even a coffee mug in there.
And I've ordered mine.
Absolutely. That's true. To find that, just go to Etsy and type in Abiding Conviction. Again, that's Abiding Conviction official shop.
So easy to search. Abiding Conviction pops right up.
Yes, sir.
All right, and also remember to check out our website and our official website, abidingconviction.com.
Yeah, it's actually abidingconviction.wixsite.com/my site. That's a little long, but
nice.
Bear with me. abidingconviction.wixsite.com/my site, or you can also go to our Instagram page, and the link is right there. You can click on it.
Yes, be sure to really be sure to check us out on Instagram as well. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We have our promoter Chris, who is working on a lot of that stuff, getting our name out there, so you can see a lot more of our content.
Thank you,
there.
Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Great job, man.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Nightcrawler a little bit. So we referenced Nightcrawler, which is our album that is just getting released right now. On the last podcast, we're going to continue that discussion. However, we want to go into a different song. So Nightcrawler itself, as you guys know, had a great list of 10 songs. I mean, it's getting out there right now, getting a lot of good reactions from the public right now. Now we're just trying to really push it out even further to all social media, pretty much. And today I would like to discuss Good Girl. Now we have, as I said, or as we both said earlier, Tone Martin on the podcast, and we're actually going to discuss. I want to see Tone's mindset as well as AJ's mindset, and we're all kind of gonna play ball with that, feed off of each other, and talk about our experiences with this song, with recording and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and start with AJ. AJ, I think you had some questions to ask Tone. If you would go ahead and do your thing.
So, yeah, I'll start off with this. Some of the questions that I want to ask in front of our audience, of course. Tone, to start, who are your primary influences as a singer? Who are people that really influence you and your song?
Oh, primary influences from way back. Oh, my gosh. Ozzy Osbourne. AC/DC singers, both of them. Bon Scott, Brian Johnson. Solely with Godsmack. Many, many more. Too many to tell.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
I get it.
God, I go way back. I mean, 70s stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, way back.
So you definitely have a wide array of influences.
Wide array, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is that. And that,
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I love the King of Pop.
That's awesome, man.
That is
awesome.
Had the glove and everything. Remember when the Thriller album came out? It was badass.
Yeah.
Tap it,
Double
Eddie.
album.
Just tap it, Eddie.
Yeah, just tap it. I loved him, man.
Yeah, and those are definitely solid influences. I mean, it's so amazing to see that kind of reach that these artists have over us. I mean, we're over here making our own music, and you definitely draw inspiration from other things, and I can definitely see that when you sing.
Absolutely.
Another question that I wanted to ask: where do you find lyrical inspiration when you're writing? Where do you get your lyrics from?
Man, well, very good question. Most of it just comes to me, but a lot are past experiences in my life, relationships, my marriage now, been married 26 years this year.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
So most of that comes from that.
That's awesome.
A lot of material to work with, I imagine.
Hence, I got a good girl.
That's very,
there we go.
Yeah. So while we were tracking, not only Good Girl, but several of the tracks for the Nightcrawler album, you had sang in a fashion that I think is unprecedented in any band I've ever been in or played with. You stand above any average singer. In my opinion, you just have that rock and roll sound. How in God's name do you find the stamina to sing for hours the way that you do without feeling like you've swallowed a fistful of razor blades, man?
Well, I have a great set of lungs, I guess. I've been a smoker in the past, not for long, but every time I've went to the doctor, man, they're like, you got a good set of lungs, clear lungs. I don't know, man. Just starting out, it's just like, I didn't even know I could do it, I've sang, off and on, not in bands or anything, but my whole life, to songs, wherever it may be, shower, work,
Karaoke bar.
My dad, my dad was a big influence on me. I used to wake up in the morning when I was a kid, probably 9, 10 years old, and my dad, I'd be sleeping too late. My dad would bust in, he'd bust in with, some Black Sabbath. What is this that stands before me? You know what I mean? I mean, so I don't know, man. I have a great set of lungs, I guess.
Just one of those things. For our listeners out there, I just want to let you guys know, when this guy, when he sings, his projection is unreal. This guy almost doesn't need a mic when we're outside. And for all musicians out there, you already know how hard it is to get sound outside.
Yeah, I've been called loud.
Yeah, it just disperses a little bit. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm pretty loud.
Yeah, he is. You do have a just a loud. You're just a presence about you, and it just, to me, it just screams rock and roll. There's nothing more in your face than just this big guy, this badass singer, and you just grab people by their
thank you guys,
by their shirt, and
I appreciate that a lot.
Scream in their ear. It's
because growing up through the years, with growing up with these bands, I always sung along to them, and I don't get why I haven't done this a lot longer than I have.
Yeah,
I've had friends that were in bands, man, and still in bands, and I just never thought to do it myself, and I don't know why. I missed out on a lot, but man, I'm grateful now. I love it. Wish I could have done it sooner, but you know what? It's never too late.
I do want to touch on a little story real quick, just for our listeners, and hell, even Ted, for everybody. Tone and myself work for the same company in our 9 to 5. And it came to a point, and I'm just going to kind of touch on how Abiding Conviction, where it kind of started, just briefly. So I was getting back into playing guitar after about a 6-year hiatus. I hadn't played, I hadn't done anything. And I didn't really know what I was looking for as far as forming a band or doing anything. I'd done some solo work, nothing too crazy. I was doing a lot of blues.
Soloist.
I was a soloist. And I'm not kidding when I say this. We work in where we work. It's like a 30,000 square foot shop, essentially. And this guy, Tone Martin, could be on the other side of the entire facility, and you would hear this guy just belting out the craziest Ozzy, and that's what drew my attention. This guy will sit there and, Over the Mountain will come on, and he's just locked in, just jamming along to it. And I'm like, man. And I told him, I approached him, I said, man, how the hell do you do that? I just do it, right?
It sounds like Tone.
Just what I do with them, And so we got together, and Abiding Conviction started as a set of Black Sabbath covers. So that's a fun fact for everyone.
Yes.
We went through and totally revamped a bunch of Black Sabbath covers and just demoed it, just played around with it and had a good time. And from there, just took off.
Snowballing now.
Yeah, just snowballing. And, just thought that'd be a fun fact. I just wanted
really
to share
cool.
that.
And by the way, the acoustics are great in the shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
Tons of
origin
natural
story.
hall reverb. Unlike anything else. So I want to play a quick little game, too. Okay, just real quick. I want to go around the table. I want to ask everybody, because we're on the subject of incredible singers, like Mr. Tone Martin, the one and only singer of Abiding Conviction. I got to ask you, Bon Scott or Brian Johnson?
Oh, my God. That is so, so tough, man. Oh my
If you had to pick one.
Well, in watching a lot of videos, live shows, concert-wise, live performances, Brian Johnson. Okay. Studio Bon Scott. Live Bon Scott, I think, had a lot of alcohol in him, so...
He did.
Man, that is... I almost can't answer that.
Okay.
Live, like I said, Brian Johnson. Studio, Bon Scott.
Very good. And, Ted, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Tone on that one. Definitely Brian Johnson. I do so enjoy watching him kind of on everything, whether it's other podcasts, live performances, in his, or even hearing about how he approaches recording. I just really admire him as a performer, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree. No disrespect at all to Bon Scott. I
Definitely,
think he was a pioneer. He was a great, just a great front man.
Yeah, for sure.
But for me, Brian Johnson, to me, is the total package. Just given the fact, and nothing against Bon, but I agree too, the alcohol and his live performances, Brian Johnson's just got, not to say Brian Johnson doesn't have any alcohol in his system, but it's a controlled level. I think I have to go with Brian Johnson myself, but I love Bon Scott as well. AC/DC's just badass.
I mean, they couldn't have picked a better replacement.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
I mean, they just fit right in, except for me.
And I've heard somebody's told me he's deaf. Brian Johnson's like, God,
Probably
very
is.
hard,
problem.
very hard of hearing.
Yeah.
You can kind of see it too on. I believe it was.
And he's a mechanic.
just like us.
Yeah. You can see it on certain podcasts too, where he's kind of listening in, or really when it looks like someone's really in his ear, so could be easily be going,
Yeah,
just kind of happens.
All right, Hagar or Roth?
Oh wow, Sammy Hagar.
This is open.
I mean, Roth is Roth. When he was with Van Halen at those times, I think in that time of Van Halen, Roth is awesome. But Sammy Hagar, hands down, a way better musician.
Agreed. And let me touch on that as well before we shoot to you, Teddy. My theory, and I am a 100% Van Halen fan. I love Van Halen. I'm a big fan of the Brown sound and everything that Eddie Van Halen ever did. I like, as far as Van Halen's catalog, I like the sound of the band from Van Halen 1 through 1984, in that era, I should say. I like the sound of the singer after Roth's gone. So I like Sammy Hagar's voice, but I like the music from the before. That's the complicated life that I'm living right now, and I love Van Halen all the way around. But I got to go with, along with Tone, I got to say, in this discussion, Sammy Hagar, much better singer and also a hell of a guy. I've seen a lot of stuff with him, and I would love to do a show with Sammy Hagar down in Cabo Wabo. So
awesome guy.
When it's the next birthday, if Sammy's out there and ever listening to this, hit us up, man.
Abiding Conviction would love to come play.
Most definitely.
Ted, what do you think, Hagar or Roth? Don't mess this up because we just did a shout out to Hagar.
It kind of puts me in
Let's
the corner.
be honest, it's all right.
I mean,
Roth is fucking good.
When it comes down to it, I couldn't. It's kind of hard to pick between both of them. I mean, but between both of those eras, I do appreciate, for example, Hagar's performance quality, his skill level in general. But Roth had just a way of looking good on stage. He was flashy. He was a performer. Yeah, he was
showman.
He was definitely a showman. That's what you need in a front man, and that's just somebody who's there. Which I think that you do a great job in, especially in like our live performance. When I would see,
I think it'll get better. I think once I get more comfortable, it'll be better.
And you guys hear that? He's already saying it's going to get better when it's already
I can't,
up there.
Jump up and
do the splits,
touch my fingers with my toes or anything, or do the splits, but. Yeah.
We wouldn't.
That would be awesome.
That's not really abiding conviction anyway. I think what you do, your presence is just, and your personality.
You draw the crowd in. You really do, and that's what you need to be. You kind of need to be a ringleader. You have to be able to draw people in, even when they may not even know that you're there or be interested.
Fashion was a lot different then too.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I say that while I wear a snakeskin shirt right now, and just kind of,
yeah, but you're not wearing a pair of panties over your jeans.
You never know. That can make a comeback.
Yeah, you're right. No, definitely don't have the G-string over top.
And I don't want to guess if they were clean or not. Not even. Because knowing David Lee Roth, they probably were not.
They were probably used from the night before. Might have got them off a groupie or something. Who knows?
Oh man, that's great. Not to abruptly stop the conversation, but I'm just so excited about this album. I kind of want to talk a little bit about Nightcrawler. So,
absolutely.
Specifically, Good Girl. If you guys are just tuning in, that's what we had said earlier. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and ask some. I have some questions for Tone here. So, Tone, let's get to Nightcrawler to really open this up. Good Girl. In Good Girl, were there any challenges that were present in the song for you? Whether it was in recording or in playing it live? We haven't done a live show yet, but with our rehearsals, are there any challenges or anything that stick out to you? They don't have to be challenges, but something that you kind of notice about this song that was a little bit that you need to put more into,
It's definitely a catchy song, so getting the rhythm from that song to another song can be challenging for me. Not so much anymore, but at first, like recording, was a challenge to hear the melody of Good Girl and jump in and sing something like Down the Road.
I see.
Was hard to get the Good Girl out of my head and not want to sing it like Good Girl. So yeah, that was the challenging part. Other than that, no. Pretty comfortable with it now. Love the song. Very catchy song, like I said, and but that's the only troubling part I had. Was recording.
Finding that tone. What's funny is that actually was my next question. So I remember we called it Good Girl Syndrome when we were recording. Yeah. That's what I believe AJ Apollo coined that phrase. Or no, it might have been you, Tony.
Nope. Yeah. Sounds like Good Girl.
Yeah, so everything
take it from the top.
Yeah, it was Chokehold.
Chokehold.
Yeah, we were trying to write the melody for Chokehold, and it was just so easy to do Chokehold and have the same melody.
Absolutely, yeah.
Follow the same kind of melody as Good Girl. We're like, is that Good Girl?
What had happened is we had to wait and come back another day without Tone listening to Good Girl and lay the rest down. Mm-hmm. So
and it turned out great, which we will get to Chokehold.
But as far as rehearsing it now and jumping into another song, no problem.
Right, and I remember that too. It was just. This
doesn't help when you're getting messed with, you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't say that I wasn't.
But it was
involved
pretty
in
much
that.
over by then when the messing around started. So we had to just shut her down and had to sleep on it and come back and record.
Right. And see, and real quick for the listeners in Chokehold and Rebellion, we will for sure be doing on this podcast in a future date. But those are also the songs that are on our album Nightcrawler. So just wanted to give a little shout out to those songs. But before we go too far into the other topics, I would like to continue on with this. So Tone, on top of this, since we're in the thing of recording and the mindset of you know how to get into a song, how do you get into a recording mindset?
Very good question.
That is.
Sometimes you have it and sometimes you don't have it. It just depends on, you know, how the day goes. I mean, I love recording. I love recording because I'm good at it. Once I figure out how the song needs to be sung, get the words out that we just can't do, cutting the words back a little bit. The mindset is just like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you just do it or you don't do it.
That is
Like
true.
You can't go in halfway and, okay, yeah, let's try it. You got to be.
If you're hot, you're hot.
You're
huh?
hot, you're hot.
Yeah.
If you're not, you're not.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's really cool because I think
can
for
agree.
me too, just to for me, what is so cool in hearing that is hearing it from a singer. I sing backup vocals. Like I can just take the fader and just go into the mix and you don't even know I'm there. But being a lead singer and the voice, what's crazy to me is, you get to the point where it's like, I have frets and strings to look at and say, okay, I'm going to play these notes here. A singer doesn't have that. You are 100%. It's your ear is the only tool you have.
Yeah.
And
Because,
that's
I mean, I
crazy.
can lay it down. I can lay a song down, record a song, and then go back and think, you know what? I can do it better.
Which actually happened.
It has
with
happened.
Good Girl. Ironically,
Depending on my voice, I can tell, you know what? Hey, that's a little, I can do better. And then we come back and re-record it. And we've done it with a couple songs.
Yeah.
A couple of the older songs we've done. Went back, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to do a couple things different, and
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Change it up and get that. And
Absolutely.
You see, then something I really saw too, I was here for a lot of the recording, of course, but even as other members of our band were laying down their tracks, watching Tone, you could just see that laser focus he had. I mean, I could, dangle $1 million in front of him. He won't lose focus of what he's got. That's what I really appreciated about his I guess mindset, persona. He really had that professional focus, and he even knew when to cut. And it wasn't like he was just cutting just to cut because it wasn't good enough. He knew exactly certain spots in which he had to attack again. So every time he cut, it was for a good reason, and everyone may have even heard
absolutely.
it. Or we
I mean, when
hear
you're, when you're looking at your lyrics and you're trying to sing your lyrics rather than reading your lyrics,
Yeah.
a huge difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I sound like I'm reading a story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Rather than just singing it.
feeling that
And
passion.
it's you can tell when someone's reading a story or singing a story rather than singing a song, It's
Well,
just-
oh yeah,
Like
definitely.
being narrated.
Yes.
Little
absolutely.
Morgan
You're like,
Freeman.
oh, no, man, I sound like I'm reading,
A little bit of the Morgan Freeman. She's
Yes.
a good girl.
Absolutely.
Love everything about her.
Absolutely. It's
And the other thing I got to
Those
say,
impressions,
too,
man.
the cool thing for the people that don't know Tone, and I can say this about everybody in the band. These guys are my best friends. We have a great time every time we're jamming in together. But the thing about Tone in particular is he, like Ted said, he is laser focused on his recording, making sure he's getting everything how he needs it. And like once the dust settles, if he doesn't like what he hears, we go back and we fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't fix it by auto-tune. We don't fix it by using beat grids or any of that. We fix it by hitting delete track and doing it again. But the guy at the same time, the point I'm trying to get at is keeps his sense of humor. I mean, he is funnier than he's very funny, and it keeps the sense of humor in that atmosphere. It keeps it a fun rock band. It keeps us like a hard rock band. We have a good time.
Absolutely. I mean, I talking about the auto-tune thing, I'd like to keep it as natural as possible. That way, when you're singing live, you sound like you're singing off the album. I mean, if you have to do too much to your voice, then you need to rethink some things. You know what I mean? I don't want a bunch of stuff done to it. It shouldn't be like that.
Right.
And our first rehearsal after we wrapped the album, we did the album in 3 weeks. Post-production took a week. We go and we come back for our first rehearsal. It sounded like the album, like in the room, like while we're playing it, it's like you have the album like cranked up really loud, and that was cool.
Very much did.
Yeah, yes. Very cool.
It didn't have there was nothing done to Tone's voice to change any kind of integrity of his voice. Yeah, we have compression and a little reverb and echo, the normal singer stuff on there as far as production goes.
But auto-tune?
No auto-tune. Yeah, no way.
We're all or nothing. We like.
I mean, it makes things so much easier on everybody. The engineer, AJ for recording it. The less you have to do to someone's voice, the better.
Absolutely.
Just like any other instrument.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? The less you have to do to it, the better.
And something we were AJ and I on the last podcast were talking about was being genuine and having that passion behind it.
Yes.
What happens is when you edit things too much, throw auto-tune, make things sound, they can sound very nice, very crisp, cut, clear, but then what comes after that? Dry. You kind of get this sense of it sounds synthetic. It doesn't sound natural.
Yes.
When we're here, the word I've been using is organic. Yeah. We sound natural. We sound like we're doing what we're doing at our highest level. So it's not just this consistent. Here's this little pitch bend I can hear, or I can kind of hear something that doesn't sound human.
Yeah, I don't want to be a studio band.
Yeah. No. And I've read stuff like that before. I've read articles where there are actually producers out there and engineers, and not really so much engineers, it's the producers and people like that will have the gall to tell you everything you hear on the radio has been auto-tuned. I would just like to go out there right now and say, bullshit, not abiding conviction, not now, not ever.
Less is better.
If we can't get it as a band, and it's not just tone, but as a band, if we can't get it how we want it, it's not going to be auto-tuned.
I mean, growing up with a lot of bands and going to concert and stuff like that, I bought CDs and tapes and then CDs and stuff like that. Yeah. You go and you listen to it and you're like, all right, man, hell yeah, that sounds great. And you go see these people in concert, and I'm not knocking any of these guys. I mean, they, when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. But it's very disappointing.
Yeah.
And you're like,
to get to a show
is this even them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And drugs, alcohol play a lot of part in a lot of things, and multiple tour dates. I mean, I don't know. I could imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of
night after
night, tired. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, and that plays a lot, but keeping it simple, the less the better.
Absolutely.
Right. It should just be you and your instrument. You and whatever you're doing, whatever your role is. It's you and that thing. That's what you need to do whenever you perform. And please do not go out on stage in a foggy haze. Sorry, fuzzy haze. That's a new word, isn't it?
Yeah, fuzzy haze. I like
fuzzy
that.
Haze.
Fuzzy haze. Is that a song?
But I mean, it works.
Fuzzy haze.
That's kind of what happens.
That's like an album name.
Great
Fuzzy.
stage name.
Yeah.
Our new drummer, Fozzie Haze.
Fozzie Haze.
The Thunder King.
No longer Teddy Miller, Fozzie Hayes, Thunder King, TK Miller. So, but that's kind of what happens. See what I did there with that little, word flub. Just imagine that times 10 on stage, and throw alcohol in the mix with whatever drug or, just any of those things that just really ruins his fatigue, ruins that genuine performance, or that genuine feeling that people are trying to get.
Yeah.
You really do, Ted. You're right. You've got to find your focus, and you've got to not let any other distractions in when you're performing. Very important.
And burnout too, I can imagine,
Right. That all definitely takes that's all into consideration once you're doing live stuff. But before we get too much into the live portion, kind of wanted to go back to recording because this was great stuff, guys. The thing I was kind of curious about too, since we touched on Tone's mindset. AJ, I have just a pretty general question for you. How was the recording process for you? Not only being the person in charge of recording and mastering everything, but just you yourself as a guitarist and you yourself as AJ Apollo.
Okay, so that's a pretty good two-part question. So, how was the recording process as a guitar player? Challenging at times for myself, the pressure on myself to be able to...
It's never good enough.
Exactly. No, and that's it. I mean, you go and you're recording guitar parts, and then you're like thinking to yourself, how can I make this better? It's the same pressure that any of us feel, right? You know, when you're playing, you want to be the best version of you that you can be.
Right.
So, as a guitar player, it had its challenges, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a great time cutting guitar solos and, you know, writing riffs and all that stuff. It was awesome, and hearing the production of it was awesome. As a producer, I would say leading up to post-production, it was phenomenal. Had a great time. I work with some of the best musicians, not only in Kern County, not only in California, but in the world, in my opinion. I've got the best guys that I could ever have with me in this band. It was good for the most part. We had our struggles here and there, but I'd say most of our struggle came in for post-production, mixing and mastering. We want to make sure that everybody has their own space within our recording. Getting the drums where the drums are not an afterthought, but also not a lead instrument, you know, where everybody takes up their space. That was challenging, but I'm glad that we pulled it off. I'm glad we put the work into it, and it was great. Overall, Nightcrawler, great experience. And, man, if we could have every single album we do from here forward be just like Nightcrawler, I'd die a happy man.
Right. And, you know, on that same subject of recording, I'm kind of thinking of like the specifics of recording, specifically with you. I know, say that 5 times fast, right? Yeah. So when you were overdubbing your guitars, how was that? Since Tone and actually all of us were saying here earlier, we don't just copy and paste. You know, we do everything, all or nothing. So if we mess up, we do it again. That means AJ had to play this 2 times in a row. I mean, give the listeners and give all of us an insight of that or to that. That's very interesting to me.
Okay, so my theory on how the guitar was going to go coming into this, we had done an album as a band previously that was kind of like us trying to find ourselves, and I used a certain technique recording the guitars where I said I will never play the guitar twice on this album. And on that album, I didn't. I played one guitar, and I actually took an old Ted Templeman recording technique. Now, Ted Templeman, for those who don't know, was the guy that recorded all the early Van Halen stuff. And he had put Eddie Van Halen's guitar to some degree to the left channel and then had reverb tracks in stereo, which kind of occupied the right side. We kind of did that. It was okay, but it left the guitar thin in some spots. So I went back to my older recording techniques of what I did is I played twice, but I played the exact same thing twice. And it gave a fuller sound. Instead of just having a reverb off of that one guitar to create a stereo, it's much more in stereo. It's a little heavier than what it would have been otherwise, but that's okay. You know what I mean? I overdubbed the guitars live, no punch-ins. The only thing that was punched in were the guitar solos. The guitar solos were one take. There are no piece by piece. If I couldn't play it twice, then I'd keep on going until I could play it twice. You know, you guys can vouch for that. I'd mess up a guitar solo and do another take until we got it right. The guitar solos were punched in. Nothing else was punched in. It was a one-take wonder all the way through. Well, two-take wonder technically. One guitar and the other. Mix them together. one is primary. To your ear, you only hear one guitar primarily. The other guitar just kind of thickens that guitar.
Versus 10 guitars.
Exactly.
And it goes up from there.
Yeah, I did not want to get to a point where we wrote a rhythm guitar track and recorded it, then wrote a lead guitar track and recorded it, then wrote a guitar solo and rhythm guitar under it. We have a lead guitarist. Exactly.
We don't want to record something that,
I was going to say, it gets right back to what you said, Tone. We need to be able to do this live and in person, and we want our fans and people coming to see us. We don't want to rob them. If you hear something on Amazon, it should sound pretty damn close to that.
Right. Pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that would be different is if we're improvising something live,
right.
Or maybe we decided to, mix it up and add
sound
a
and all
thing
kinds,
in here,
make it fun. And all that.
But the general idea of the song is going to stay the same.
Yes.
It is Good Girl is going to be Good Girl. Nightcrawler will be Nightcrawler. Yeah. So I think I kind of appreciate that getting that insight, because that's something that we want to put out to the listeners. If you guys come and see us live, which really hope you guys get to do that, that's what we're going to put out for you. We're straightforward. We're honest. We're not beating around the bush. You get what you get. What you hear is what you're going to get at live. But even it's just going to be such a good experience. I don't want to say better, because both of them are going to be wonderful experiences. You're just going to get such a different variety, I would say. Yeah. You get variations. So many variations of such a high caliber type of style. So, and on top of that, AJ, kind of going a little bit more in depth of what you were doing on this song, on Good Girl, what made you interpret the rhythms of the verses in this song? So I'm thinking of that's like really catchy. It just sticks in my head. What really gets what made you feel that? What made you come that out? Or what there you go. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let you speak.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, Ted. Okay, so
it's just so mellow and deep.
He is. No. Okay, so Good Girl. How Good Girl came about and how it started. Mind you, when it started, it did not have the title Good Girl. We didn't have that until Tone came in with his lyrics. I was in the zone and listening to... what I do, and a fun fact for a lot of listeners, what I do as a guitar player to keep myself sharp, I play along with backing tracks. I'll go on YouTube and I'll put in blues backing track, A minor, whatever. You can find them. It is great practice to craft you as a guitar player. Not only for your lead playing, but you can even come up with some really cool rhythms that way. Good Girl kind of came up that way. I was playing along with a funk backing track, and I was like feeling like a little funky. I'm going to do this, and it just happened. It came down to being, I just stumbled upon it. I don't know, and then I was like, wow, that's really powerful. And here comes the challenge. How do I take a funk guitar part and make it sound like Abiding Conviction? That's what I did.
Yeah, and you definitely can hear our inflections throughout the whole album, and that's what I was talking about. Was variation. Each song is Abiding Conviction through and through, but also has ties to these roots of music, of different styles like funk, blues, but all of it comes back to that brown sound era, that classic rock. That's what we really put out there, and to get that feeling in every song, I'm getting goosebumps right now, literally thinking about it. Yeah, and on top of that, AJ, I had another question for you, something that's been, especially this song,
go ahead.
Something that I really am trying to, I just admire about you. When you were recording or whenever you're playing this song, you just sound so creative and free, like as if you're taking us on like a tour to where you can just kind of go anywhere, you see vast expanses you can explore, and I don't want to get too much into describing a mountainscape, but it kind of feels like it's just when I listen to AJ's playing, it's like he can go anywhere, He doesn't feel boggled down. I think that's really hard to convey recording. So how do you get that? How do you get so free? How do you feel so free in that song? You know.
Well, talking Good Girl in particular, I feel free in that song because of the style in which I'm playing, if that makes sense. It's a looser song, and I don't know, maybe some guitar players out there will understand what I'm trying to get at. I don't know if I can find the exact words. It's a little looser of a song for me to play. I can kind of, I don't know, I guess I can kind
more
of
freedoms?
Yeah, it feels like it's a little more free. I can explore a little more. I can, move in the tempo's just right. Tempo has a lot to do with that, and the groove, if you will, to the song. It has a lot to do with that. So it's not just me, really, to get me to a point of that creative freedom on the guitar. It's a package deal that comes from what the band, in particular, the rhythm section, what the rhythm section is offering to me. And also with tone, even with what kind of space is tone leaving, things like that. It was Good Girl is just a very awesome jam to play. It is for me, and it's like it. I thoroughly enjoy playing that song. Like you can see it in my body language. I love playing that song, and it just does feel. Which I love playing all of our stuff, but that song has its own kind of
it has its
funky thing to it.
Its draw to it.
Yeah.
That's what I really appreciate about this song. Really wanted to make sure we touched that subject because so many good things going on in here. I think too what I appreciate about listening to you is it's enjoyable, even to the parts where we're rehearsing. At times, I have to make sure, or scratch that, recording. Yeah. When I was recording, there's a specific spot in the song. All the drum parts are, they're not as involved as other songs on this album, but they definitely still have their places in which the tempo needs to be spot on, like the hi-hat section.
Yeah.
But I would genuinely start to lose my spot because of AJ's playing and think, oh, which is this the first verse, the second verse? Oh wait, does that matter? Oh yeah, okay, here I am. All right, this is what I'm doing, and I had to just really block him out.
Oh yeah, early on I could get lost so easily, and
just looking at other people perform. I've done the same thing with Tone. With his voice, just kind of just grabs your attention to the point where it's grabbed my attention, even though I've heard his voice 1,000 times. I want to hear it 1,000 more. And that goes for AJ especially, like all of us. Even everything Miles is laying down, it's a steady, persistent rhythm or rhythmic beat. So that's just kind of the thing that kind of got that I was very curious about and wanted the other listeners to kind of get that experience.
Yeah, I think in a lot of sense, and I can't speak for the rhythm section because I'm not technically in it, but the way that I interpret the rhythm section, and I interpret especially Miles, and since he's not here, I can probably speak for him. The bass in particular, if you think of somebody coming to your door with one of those rams to knock your door in, the police or SWAT or whatever, I think of the bass like that. He's just pounding and pounding and pounding away, and it creates that real pulsating I love that of Miles, and I love that of how our rhythm, our bass anyway, goes. Drums are a little bit more involved. In fact, Teddy, I wanted to ask you, with Good Girl in particular, since we're on that, where did this insanely involved drumming come from? I mean, I know you say it's kind of maybe laid back, but I think as a listener and not being a drummer myself, I interpret it differently. With all due respect, you're the master at this stuff, but it sounds so big. Can you explain that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, actually, AJ. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. So, really, to make things sound big, you have to focus on the small parts. Very counterintuitive. Okay. So a little bit about myself. I teach for a local school district, music to be exact, and teach them percussion. I have from first to sixth graders. I've taught high school, and the one thing I will always tell all my students is if you're going to be soloing or you're going to be featuring anything, whether you're playing your own thing, music or whatever it may be, you need to make sure you're not ramming the whole time. You don't want to. You want to have some variety. Exactly. You can be playing at blazing fast speeds. You can have crazy, book report rudiments, cheese fives, cheeses, dechutas, all that fun stuff. But if you're just throwing down just noise, that's what it's going to come out as a listener. And what I like to do is think of the listener. What am I going to feel if he's just blasting on the snare all day? So that's why I kind of got into variety, and when it's time to get big on the song, aka the chorus, all of us come in, or whenever Anthony's passages start, I accentuate that with either a huge, nice, fat, round drum beat or with a simple crash. So I think the best example is on the verses too, where AJ has that rhythm. I decided I like that rhythm. I'm going to add to it. I'm not going to take away. The number one thing, you cannot take away, especially as a drummer. You're one of the loudest instruments there. You have to accompany. So I just did simple quarter notes right there. Right?
Yeah.
I just had a nice little groove in mind. Just you want to be able to drum to where you're getting people, you're wanting them to tap their foot and dance. I want you guys to get up. That's my goal. I want you guys to get up and start dancing.
Yeah.
Even if we're just in the backyard, you guys are going to move. I'm going to make sure that happens. But in order to do that, I have to lay back. Less is more. Less is definitely more. In my experienced opinion. If you're always just adding these crazy fills and going very fast, it's gonna sound monotone, right? Yeah. The rhythm of the song itself. So that's what my inspiration was: is find a groove, and then when it's time for you to show out, for example, the pre-chorus, that's where I'm gonna start to come out more and express or establish my presence.
Yeah.
But as soon as everyone comes in, I'm gonna just ride the ride, right? And just kind of keep that beat nice and steady to make sure everyone else is showcased. So that's the main thing that I like to do in structuring of songs. You accentuate whatever sticks out. Like if you have a die bomb, or if Anthony has this awesome sustained note, I'm going to make sure to hit a crash right on the downbeat of that.
Yeah.
So you guys can have that kind of support and get pumped up.
Yeah, it does thicken it out. You're right. I think that's incredibly important of drummers, but also somewhat of a lost art. How was a two-part question for you, Ted? How was what some of our viewers may not know? The way Abiding Conviction works, tone is the voice and driving force of this band. What you hear is what you get. That's the main voice. But he actually has backups. So both myself and Teddy here sing backup vocals, including on Good Girl. But you are almost infamous in the band for being the harmony guy. Okay, so I tend to take Tone's note and bring it down an octave because I am nowhere near Tone's capability. This guy is on a world of his own.
Agreed.
But I take that
myself. Sorry.
Yeah, I take that melody, bring it down an octave, and kind of sing it mid range, and then you're kind of the harmony guy. How do you do that? Is there some kind of experience you have in that? I mean, how did that come out in the album, or on the album, I should say, in particular, to where you're able to intertwine these harmonies during the chorus?
It's funny you asked that. It's a kind of a specific answer I'm about to give you. So with harmonies, it's the same thing as drumming. Not in the tone respect. Of course, if you see it on a page, for any of my musicians out there who can read music, of course it's not going to be exactly the same note for note, but it's the same concept, same idea. You do not want to take away from the main voice or from the main voicing. you want to make sure you're adding you're adding to it, you know, and you're supporting. That's what backup vocals are.
Right.
And I like to I just love I've always loved the sound of harmonies or harmonizing in general, and that's something that I wasn't really able to do until later on in my music career. I didn't start singing till I'd say after I had already learned everything in school. So by the time I already had gotten out of school, I didn't start showing my voice off till then. And then I started realizing, oh, I can sing, and I can also sing different tones to kind of make this cool little harmony. Yeah. And I started singing with a few of my at our local college in Bakersfield College here. I started singing with a lot of the other singing majors that I had made friends with, and they kind of taught me how to harmonize, you know, whether it's whatever step it might be, or sing it at this inflection, sing it this way, that way, the other. And I kind of sit there and love to do that. You know what I mean? You can hear a lot of that on it. I know sea shanties are a big thing right now. Yeah, and in a lot of the social media things, TikTok, I can think for one of them, they have people just singing voices or just singing, no backup instruments, anything, and all they're doing is harmonizing. So I thought, wouldn't that be a cool idea to take that kind of concept and add it to our music and really fill it out?
Absolutely.
And create this presence to where, you know, the chorus comes. And we are straight up backing tone up whenever we're doing these backup vocals. Sorry, I don't mean to sound redundant, but that's exactly what I want to convey.
Highs need to be complemented by a low.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or they're just out of this world high.
Yeah.
You know.
It is a balance. That's true.
And it's great you said that, Tone. Tone is definitely covering a lot of the highs, right?
Yes.
AJ covers a lot of the mids. I do a lot of the lows. You can probably hear it in my voice, but I'm definitely more comfortable at a lower register.
Yeah.
I just add to the sound and make sure I throw things in the mix, and from the low end I can often harmonize very easily. It gives me a little bit more.
Not to mention drumming at the same time.
No kidding. No kidding.
I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, appreciate that. But it's a fun thing for me too, and I just kind of do that in tandem.
Oh, that's awesome. Good Girl it stands on its own in its own style. And it kind of has its own flair and flash, and it definitely it's a great way to open up the Nightcrawler album. And I'm very happy with what we got, and great job to you guys and what you've created.
Most definitely. You know, while we're on that subject, we've been talking about the song for such a good amount of time. How about we show the listeners here a little bit of that Good Girl?
Yes, absolutely.
How about we do that?
All right, so. Here it is. This is Good Girl by Abiding Conviction.
Here it is.
That's it. That was Good Girl. Again, that's off the new Nightcrawler album from Abiding Conviction, which is available. The singles are available on Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, whatever you're...
Check it out.
Yeah, whatever you're into, it's probably there. The album should be out within the next couple of days. That's available for purchase on Amazon.com. You can also purchase it at iTunes.
Don't forget that gear.
Don't forget merchandise available at Etsy on the Abiding Conviction official shop. And that's all we got today for Picks and Sticks. Thank you, Tone Martin, for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
And hanging with us. And on that note, I'm AJ Apollo.
And I'm Teddy Miller.
We'll see you next time.